Welcome to From Blueprint to Beautiful, the podcast where we take you behind the scenes of home remodeling. I'm Heather Francis, and with my husband, Michael Francis, we own and operate Francis Renovations. We've spent years helping homeowners turn their renovation dreams into reality. Whether you're planning your next big project, love a good before and after, or just want to avoid common renovation pitfalls, you're in the right place. So grab a coffee or a hammer, and let's dive in. Hi, Michael Francis.
Hi, Heather Francis.
Welcome back to From Blueprint to Beautiful.
Welcome back.
Today we're talking about something that doesn't always get the attention it deserves, communication.
Communication.
It sounds simple, right?
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. We've seen how poor communication can completely derail a project. Whether it's people trying to play games with pricing or just not being honest about what they want. You see that a lot, right?
You see that a lot. Right.
The truth is, the best projects happen when everyone's on the same page from the beginning. So today we're going to break down how we approach communication at every stage of a renovation, planning, construction, and even day-to-day details. We're going to talk a little bit about JobTread.
Okay.
And how all of that keeps everything clear and stress-free.
Stress-free.
In my air quotations, stress-free. So let's get into it. You ready?
Sure. Let's go.
Let's do this thing, chicken wing. Let's start with poor communication and what that looks like. And we've experienced it.
Oh, yeah.
And that can be something like people showing up and you don't know that they're showing up. And so everyone's taken by surprise. Mm-hmm. That is an example of poor communication that we try to avoid. Mm-hmm. Surprise bills. We also get those a lot. And that is poor communication that we do avoid. Actually, we do avoid that one.
We do avoid that. We've had it sour some relationships, but in our subcontractor agreement, it's very clear, no
surprise bills.
No surprise bills.
Yeah.
No change orders without approvals, because we can't go back to our clients after the fact and say, oh, I need to add this in. It just doesn't work.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah. By the way, there's $10,000 here that I'm just going to add in. It doesn't work.
Yeah. No.
So.
Yeah. When you have consistent poor communication, it just creates mistrust.
Yeah. And
that is one thing that we try to avoid because this needs to be a trusting relationship.
That's the whole point of the upfront process. But there's occasions where people think there's an understanding of what's going on, mm-hmm. Or that they're communicating their needs, wants, and the vision clearly, but the contractor or the person on the other end isn't fully understanding it, but they think they are. Mm-hmm. Some of it comes from inexperience. Some of it comes from ego. There's a lot of areas it comes from. But it's ideally there's an over communication from the client to the contractor of what that vision is, mm-hmm. and the client and the contractor will communicate back exactly what that vision is, saying that they understand it.
Right.
And that's in the design process. That's in the day-to-day. That's in the post-construction, the full communication.
Yes.
So I hope I didn't go off track.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
I'm not saying our process is the best and we try to improve our communication every time we do it.
So we're all human, right? Yes. And so things are going to happen and, nothing's perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. And that's how we continually try to improve, when things do go wrong and when there's a miscommunication. But there are things that we try to go out of our way to avoid.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Heather, I want lights in my living room. Okay, what does that look like?
Right.
I don't know, just add 4 lights in.
Just add 4 lights in.
Okay, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Is there a switch for those 4 lights?
Yeah.
Is it a dimmer switch? Where are the 4 lights located? Mm-hmm. What kind of lights are they? Are they 4-inch high hats? Are they 6-inch high hats? Are they surface mount lights? Be clear with the communication. What exactly does it look like when it's done?
Right.
Communicate it via email, text, draw a picture, show up on site, lay it out on the ceiling. This is what I want. This is the light I want. Be clear. Mm-hmm. Clear is kind. Clear works.
Clear works. Let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
Because we talked a couple episodes ago, maybe an episode ago, we talked about pricing. Uh-huh. But let's circle back to that just for a second. And the communication when it comes to budget expectations and pricing, like as we're going through a project.
Budget expectations. Okay.
We have had the initial conversation you have is very upfront. It's asking, what does your investment look like?
Yes.
What are you comfortable with spending on this project? And most people, a lot of people don't know how to answer that because they just don't know what things cost. You don't know what you don't know. Huh. There is a mindset among some people that it is constantly a negotiating game. And so they are not always honest with you about budget.
Yeah.
And it continually shifts and changes as the planning goes through and we make it through the process. So
there's a couple of different aspects with that. They're not clear with the communication up front about what they really want. Mm-hmm. So it'll be like, well, I just want this 12 by 20 addition on the back of my house.
Right.
Well, no, I really want a 2-story 12 by 20 addition. Mm-hmm. And I want it fully enclosed in glass.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like, so we'll start out, like, you can give a ballpark price on a 12 by 20 addition.
Yeah.
Then it's double the price for a 2-story addition.
2 stories, yeah.
And then you're adding glass in, but they're still stuck on that original. Well, you told me it was X.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't clear with that. Like, this is what that costs. This is what this costs. So
yeah,
it's just, and we've run into that a couple times.
Yes.
There's a second one. So one of them is the communication about what they want.
The communication about what they want. Was there a second thing in that question?
No, but there's two versions of that where they're adding stuff in as we go.
With the change orders, perhaps?
Not with the change orders, but like with them communicating, or like just telling you this is what I want, or they change what they want as they go.
Yeah.
Or oh, well, I thought that I was getting this.
You're right.
Like, you're halfway through the project. Well, no, like, it clearly states this is what we're getting.
Right.
Oh, well, can you just throw it in? No, we can't just throw it in.
Right.
Like, would you just throw it in if this was your project? If you were running this project, you can't do it.
Right. So that very, very early expectation, not just budgetary, but just like your expectations for the project. That's why you ask so many questions, and that's why we go through this planning process.
Yeah.
So that all of those questions are answered.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, they make it into the scope of work, which is a very, very detailed document.
It's a very detailed document, and we try to no ambiguity. Mm-hmm. Let's take out the guesswork. And this is most design build companies. They just take out any of the guesswork. Mm-hmm. This is the scope of work. This is what we're pricing out. This is what we're doing. If it's not on this scope of work, it's not priced into the project, and we're going to have to add it.
Yes. And you use that as a Bible.
Yeah.
Once you get into the project, you refer back to that constantly.
Yeah. And it's communication. We have to sit down. Mm-hmm. Once we're finishing the design process, we sit down and we walk through the scope of work. Mm-hmm. And it can take an hour. It can take 2 hours. It depends on how, there's some of the stuff like site protection. Okay. Site protection is pretty straightforward. Unless you have something specific that we need to address.
Right.
The amount of dumpsters on the job and where we're placing them. We don't need to get into that conversation right now. But as for this is the tile or this is the heated floor, mm-hmm. We had one client that we were very clear with what we were doing. We were putting in electric heated floors, and then we put the heated floors in, and he's like, "Oh, I thought you were doing hydronic heated floors." We went through this 4 times. Mm-hmm. We're doing electric heated floors in here. If we do the hydronic floors, we're going to need to increase the size of your boiler and the mm-hmm. output of it, and it's going to cost you about $30,000 more.
Right. So
we decided to go this way, and this is what you approved. We can backtrack if you want to do that, but it's going to cost you this amount more. Mm-hmm. And if we like the electric heat.
We're good with the electric. Cool. Yeah, we're good with the electric. Yeah,
but it's being clear in that communication and being understanding. There is some misunderstandings here and there,
and
but being kind with it.
To be fair, some of these projects are enormous.
Oh yeah,
and a homeowner, I wouldn't know.
No,
it's a lot, and it's a lot to keep track of, and it's a lot to absorb.
Yeah.
So that's why the scope of work is really important, because it gives them an opportunity to go back and remember, what decisions were made.
And there's things that are important to each client, and there's things that they just don't care.
Yes.
I want to know this is the tile that we're putting in, and this is what the way the pattern is going to be set in. Other than that, I don't care.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. The rest of it, like, I don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they don't care that we're using Ardex X5 to install all the tile and, whatever else.
Yeah.
They just don't care. And that's fair. They don't need to know it, but I need to specify it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't care either. I don't care.
Like I care just because it's, it's letting our subcontractors know this is the product I want you to use.
Right. No, but I'm thinking like as a homeowner, I wouldn't care how you install it.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know how to install it. So however you want to install it is fine.
Huh.
But then that open communication, it shapes everything. It shapes the budget. It also shapes the timeline.
And it shapes trust.
And trust.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they know that they can communicate with you
mm-hmm.
and not have you make them feel like a dumbass, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of guys out there like, what do you mean you didn't know that? Are you stupid?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No.
So be kind. Be understanding.
Yeah. Be understanding. But then that also goes into the timeline.
Absolutely.
And so we try to, we give everyone timeline.
Yeah.
I'll touch on JobTread just for a second here.
Yeah.
Like we have a schedule that's placed into JobTread and it is to the date, right? Like we have specific dates that things are happening.
Yeah.
And sometimes things can change.
Yeah.
And that timeline gets shifted.
I actually had a conversation with Mark about this yesterday. Like sometimes our schedule gets shifted, like something runs over.
Yeah.
But the communication between us and the crew is good. And we say, look, we still have a deadline that we need to meet. Can we make this time up?
Yeah.
And we've always been good about making it up. I think we've missed a schedule by like a day,
mm-hmm.
maybe 2 days.
Yeah.
But it's rare. Usually we're ahead of schedule.
Yes.
So
there was one time we had a client that followed that schedule like a Bible.
Yeah. Yes. But they planned all their vacations around it.
Yeah.
And yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why we're working for that client again.
Uh-huh.
And you know, like the communication and the understanding and relationship that we've built with them, we're also a little more aware of defining that schedule with them.
We're very aware of how to work with this particular client.
Yes.
Because they are a wonderful client. Yeah. They have high expectations of us.
Yeah, very high expectations of us.
And, we can meet those expectations. Yeah. So,
but we have high expectations of us.
We have high expectations of us. That's
which
accurate.
Is one of those, it's a two-edged sword.
Well, that's certainly true.
I'm not living up to my own expectations.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we're all open with each other from the beginning, we can solve a lot of problems before they happen.
Absolutely.
We've talked a lot about our design phase and what that means and what that is. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. Yeah. There's no reason to go through the whole process of it. But during that design phase, that's where it's really important that, like, particularly with materials and with, selections, we're all very, very open with each other and the layout.
Yeah.
Because the last thing we want is to get through a planning phase, which has happened. Mm-hmm. And to get to the end of it, to have someone say, this isn't what I love, and have to start all over. And so nobody wants that.
No.
It's really, really important that a client, that you as a client, are very honest if we're not moving in the right direction. Yeah. Or if, you want to move, or if we were moving in the right direction. People, once you get into it, sometimes your mind changes. Yeah. And it's okay to tell us that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with the client that I think you're referring to, it was one of those, they totally loved it. We're totally into it. Made some shifts to accommodate a budget. Wasn't happy with the accommodation we made, because kind of took their...
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about this one, but
their main aspect of it out.
Yeah.
We had to redesign the whole thing. Thank goodness the architect worked with us.
Yeah.
Because so you go through that whole initial phase, and the design is budgeted for so many revisions. And when you have to go back and start all over again, we have to say, okay, well, now the architect is going to charge us double that fee because they already, they did what we expected them to do.
Right.
They fulfilled their contract. Mm-hmm. They provided us with structural drawings and the layout that you requested. But this guy, like in this scenario, he worked with us. And then we had some other hiccups on that one. Mm-hmm. And again, communication, like I said to the client, in this scenario, I would have fired us at this point.
Yeah.
And gone with somebody else. but we had already built a relationship. There was trust there, and one way or another that like it would have had to be paid for somewhere.
Yeah.
And we were upfront with all of it and communicated that. And they're like, no, like you're the guy.
Yeah.
Let's move on and get this project going.
Yeah, we really like your wife.
Yeah, that's what they said. Heather's cool.
Heather's cool.
You're here.
You're all right.
Yeah. Your dog's pretty cool too.
Their dog is very cool.
Their dog is.
I was thinking of a client that there was a lot of communication, but I don't think they were clear in what they really wanted. They had an idea of what they wanted, but the space available did not allow it. And so we went through a design and they were like, yes, this is the one we want. And then at the very last minute, they came back and said, no, this in fact is not what we want at all. We went through 13 designs with this one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Until we ultimately parted ways because that was not going to be.
And honestly, we should have pulled that trigger way earlier.
We should have pulled that trigger way earlier.
I think in a 22 years, whatever, as long as we've been doing this, we fired 2 clients.
Mm-hmm. At the end of that, they said, do you want to bid the project? And we said, no, thank you.
Nope.
No, thank you.
Nope.
We are not a good fit. We are not a good fit. But but even with that, there was a lot of communication. They were just very unclear of what they wanted. That kept shifting.
No, they were very clear on what they wanted. We designed what they wanted. And then when we gave them when we sent it over to them, like, this is what you requested.
Yes.
Then they came back and said,
no, that's not what we want.
But
and
yes, here's your email. Here's this.
Do you remember when I sat on a call with them and we did exact to the inch what they wanted, send it back to them. And they were like, this isn't what we asked for. And we were like, we can't help you.
Yeah, that was it. We were like, all right.
I'm so sorry. This is.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like,
I'm waving the flag.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And we're not perfect, but that was just a scenario that I don't think they were going to be happy with no matter what.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
And that happens sometimes. Yeah. And that's one of the benefits of doing the design phase, because then we were able to figure out we let that drag on longer than we should have, to your point, but we were able to figure out before we got into construction that we were probably not a good fit for each other.
Oh, can I touch on something real quick?
Please do. Mm-hmm.
Like on a positive note, we've had a client recently in the past couple of years that was just totally awesome. Mm-hmm. He communicated what he wanted on a phone call. Mm-hmm. Then he would communicate in an email. Mm-hmm. Then he would communicate in a text. Then he would show up on the job and communicate it. And he would have a drawing. He'd be like, this is what I want. This is what I'm thinking. Can we walk through it? Yeah. And we would do that.
Yes.
And then I would show up on site the next morning, and he would have everything laid out.
Yes.
Exactly how he wanted it.
Yeah.
And he would show up and say, Mike, I think if we use 1/2-inch plywood here and we shift this stud over a little bit and we move this to here, that speaker will fit in there exactly. But it was communicating and creating the vision that he wanted. Yes. And it was awesome.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And for every bad experience we have 20 good experiences.
Oh, yeah.
The bad ones are the anomaly in our world. Yeah. They're just how we learn the lessons. Oh, yeah. Yes, that client was but the relationship that the two of you built and the trust that the two of you had in each other was incredible. And that will be a lifelong relationship for you.
Well, we've called him in on 2 projects. You
brought him in.
He's such a detailed person. Yeah. We brought him in on 2 projects.
Yeah. He now has a designer.
Yeah. Like, I really think that he should design.
He's really incredible. They're both, that family is incredible. Yeah. They're a great family. Once we get into a project, that's the design phase. We're designing, we're talking, we're open with visions and budgets and all of that. Once we get into construction, there's a couple different facets. There's regular walkthroughs. Yep.
We put that on our scope of work.
And that's all in the scope of work.
Because there's very important walkthroughs that they have to be part of. Mm-hmm. Because just because you see it on paper doesn't mean it's going to translate to when you walk through that space, it's going to be the same.
Yes. And the things that are done in design, we will also reconfirm once we get into construction.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of say like, hey, this is the shower door you picked out. Is this still what you want?
Yeah.
Like, this maybe not that, but
this is the size shower you want.
This is the size shower you want.
You know, is it still good? Because we have space to make it larger.
Yeah.
We can make it smaller. We can do this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
Same with the electrical layout.
Yes.
You know, and we've had a client like, well, I thought that's why we went through the design.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but we still want you to walk through.
Yeah.
It takes 2 minutes. Let's just verify that's what you want.
Right.
Because you may want to change things.
And sometimes once you get into something, once you see the space, once it's no longer
2D.
2D, you get a better feel for what you actually like. Okay, this might work. This might function better if this is over here, or if this is a little bit bigger, or like your mind can change.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
We've painted rooms, houses, and at the end of it, and we'd even put samples up on the wall, and they see it and they pick their paint out, and by the end of it, they're like, I really don't like the color. Can we repaint it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure. Absolutely. That can be done.
Yep.
So there are regular walkthroughs, there's regular communication, but then there's also JobTread.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that, or do you want me to?
I use JobTread very little. The guys are more fluent in JobTread than I am.
Yeah.
You're more fluent in JobTread than I am.
Yeah.
I'm slowly getting the hang of it. But a big thing is like the daily logs. The guys will put pictures in and what was accomplished that day.
Yeah.
Because once you're out of the big things, like the framing, siding, roofing, windows, the big things, there's a lot of days where you're like, what did these guys do today?
Did they do anything?
Were they even here? Yeah. And it's the pictures will say like, this is what we did today. Yeah. Because it's all the little things that it could take us all day to put a post in a crawl space. Yeah. But you don't see it, and out of sight, out of mind. These guys even do anything today? Yeah. Yes. Yes, they did.
Yeah. They did a lot today, actually. You just can't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the daily logs is huge. There's communications back and forth with the clients. I usually use text or email, but we can do it through JobTread. Yeah. Change orders are sent out through JobTread.
Yeah, I refer back to JobTread for everything budget related. Everything financial, every financial communication, I refer back to JobTread because that's where we send out the original contract.
But even the selections are put in JobTread.
The selections are put in JobTread. So you as a client can go back and look and see, this is what I picked out. Yep. The schedule is in JobTread.
Schedule's in JobTread.
Any change orders are in JobTread. Yeah. So you get the whole picture, the whole financial picture of your project.
And it's a great resource.
Yes, it is a great resource.
It's not an inexpensive resource, but it's a great resource.
But also, it provides a whole lot of value.
Absolutely.
For both of us.
Yeah. Yeah, for client and contractor.
For client and contractor.
And we're not saying that's the end all be all. There's several different construction management softwares out there.
Oh, absolutely.
We use JobTread.
We use JobTread. And a lot of our peers use JobTread. Yeah. And a lot of our clients appreciate those daily logs because if the guys miss a day, it goes noticed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Is there anything else? Any other pressing topics that you wanted to cover under communication?
Under communication, just be clear with the vision. Like that's whatever it takes to be clear with that vision. Don't hold back.
Because ultimately we're a team.
Yeah. Even if we do something and you don't fully love what's been done. Yeah. Say it. Yeah. Like, it looks good, but can you make it better? Yes. Something like that. Or, I asked for a satin finish or a matte finish on that handrail, and I really don't like it. Can we go semi-gloss? Yeah. Just like it may cost a little bit more, but it's well worth it now than you having to stare at it every day. Yes. For the next 20 years. Just communicate it.
Well, and it's like, I'm going to use, this is inconsequential compared to what we're talking about, but like when I go to get my nails done and they paint it a color that I like in the bottle, but I don't like once it's on my nails, I don't say anything. I just sit there and I say, oh, it's so pretty. I really love it. Thank you so much. And then I leave. And then 2 weeks later, I'm still looking at it thinking, I hate this color. But it would really, they don't care. No. They all you would have to say is, hey, can you just change my color? Some people are just better at those conversations than others.
No, but we've said it a ton of times. Like we go out to dinner and we spend a whole bunch of money on okay food. and all we have to do is say, hey, could you take the cheese off of this, or could you do,
Right.
like we order a salad, it's 3 leaves of lettuce. Like, I'm paying $25 for this salad. Can you put some freaking lettuce in it?
Yeah, and you put a handful of lettuce in.
Like, make it a salad.
Make it a salad.
Just ask. But, I mean, don't be a jerk about it. Ask.
Well, but there's
And
a
that's a
difference
lot of
between,
the-
and I think that some people equate being honest with being a dick, and that's not the case. Like, there's a way to be tactful and kind and honest.
Who was it? Was it Seinfeld? How you present the sandwich?
Was that that was Community?
Was it Community?
I think it was Community.
Okay.
With Joel McHale. I think that it was Community.
That's how you present the sandwich.
Mm-hmm. It's how you present the sandwich. That's exactly right. And we're always going to be respectful of you.
Yeah.
And we would absolutely expect the same in return.
Absolutely. But communicate. Communication is kind. Clarity is kind.
Yeah.
Collaboration is kind.
Collaboration is kind. Communication is kind. I agree with that's a 100% true statement. If there's one thing we want you to take away from today, it's this. Communication is everything. We don't believe in surprises, and we don't believe in guessing games. Whether you're just starting to think about a renovation or you're already mid-project, you deserve a team that's open, responsive, and upfront every step of the way.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to add?
Communicate.
If you're looking for a team that leads with transparency and keeps you in the loop, from Blueprint to Beautiful, reach out. You can find us at francisrenovations.com or follow us along on Instagram at francisrenovations. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
I'm pretty sure this is our best episode yet.
And that's a wrap for this episode of From Blueprint to Beautiful. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and took away some helpful insights for your own home projects. If you loved what you heard, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you have a renovation question or a story to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can connect with me at heather@francisrenovations.com, follow along on social media, or reach out at www.francisrenovations.com. And hey, if you're feeling generous, leave a quick rating and review. It helps more homeowners like you find the show. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep dreaming, designing, and building.